and welcome to the celebration of the Campaign for Cancer Care and the grand opening of the South County Health Cancer Center. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Claudia Swain, and I'm the Vice President of Development here at South County Health. And it's really been my honor and my privilege to be a part of this campaign effort to better provide services for our cancer patients and their families. Nobody is happier than I am tonight to have you all be here for this celebration and to have you see very clearly the impact of your generosity and what we have been able to accomplish together. First up tonight will be Lou Giancola, our President and CEO, who really needs no further introduction. Lou?
I have to use these glasses. So first of all, I want to welcome you and thank all of you for all you've done to support this hospital. Obviously, we're very grateful to all of you who are donors, and we owe you a round of applause. But we also appreciate the kind of support that this community has given us. I think I start every one of these talks with just remembering what someone, a donor, actually told me. He said, "What would South County be without South County Health?" And if you could sort of vision it, you know, it would be like sort of taking the soul out of the place, at least for me. Obviously, I love this place, and I think many of you do. And we've got a lot of staff here who really do everything they can every day to serve you. I think we're blessed in that sense. My job tonight is to thank a lot of people who have made this possible. First, I want to recognize Ellie Ferguson, who I'm not going to ask to stand. I think it's okay, it's not a HIPAA violation to say that she recently had a hip replaced here. You may have heard that we do some orthopedics. And Rob Panoff, both who co-chaired the campaign and did a wonderful job. I want to thank Kelly Casson, Lee Singer, and Anne Marie McGarty, who led the employee campaign, which resulted in over 1,400 gifts and $240,000. Thank you. I'm going to get in trouble, but those are three of my favorite people. I just saw Anne Marie in the PACU this afternoon, and she said something nasty to me. I want to thank the physician campaign chairs, Dr. Casson, Dr. Black, and Dr. Smythe, and Russ Corcoran. They were able to obtain 71 members of the medical staff to make gifts totaling over almost $380,000. So thank you. I want to thank the wonderful staff who work in oncology, both in the practice and in the infusion center, and everybody else who supports the cancer program here. As I said, these are wonderfully dedicated people. I want to thank somebody, and maybe those guys could wave from the back of the room, Cindy Wyman, who led the design team, CW Design Group. I don't know if Mary and Joe are here. Ed Berman and Andy, who were our contractors and did such a wonderful job. Rick Holland, who served on the building committee and just gives his time to us all the time. Keogh Construction, who served as the owner's project manager. And Jude Farrell, who chaired the building committee. Probably many of you have not done a construction project in a hospital. My kitchen is being redone. We've been out without a kitchen for 4 months. But these are really complicated projects, and they did an incredibly great job. We're very grateful to them. I just want to talk a little bit about cancer in a community hospital. You know, probably most of you don't realize that something like 85% of cancers can be treated in a community hospital setting. You know, we have, and we have a very rich program. We're very proud of our oncologists. You'll meet Dr. Colvin tonight, Dr. Smythe, and we are about to add a new person. She'll be introduced to the community shortly. So we'll have 3 wonderful, great oncologists. We have great surgeons here who have made this program what it is. We have wonderful radiation oncology kind of across the street here. And as I always say, we have this tumor board that meets every Tuesday morning, and you can't help but be in awe of the expertise and the wealth of knowledge that both the oncologist and the radiologist and the pathologist as a team bring to the treatment of patients who come to our cancer center. So we are, again, very grateful to you for all you've done to make this possible. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob Panoff, the co-chair of the campaign committee.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight to celebrate the opening of South County Health's Community Cancer Center. And to all of you who have helped us, because without you, we wouldn't have been able to reach tonight. So give yourself a round of applause. Your numbers, as indicated by the turnout tonight, your numbers have given us strength. 40 events, attending 40 events and presentations, reaching a total of 1,115 donors, and generating $6.6 million in pledges. We've already received $5 million, but still need everyone to fulfill their pledges to truly surpass our goal. So we're watching you. I'd especially like to thank my co-chair, Ellie Ferguson. She's been a real partner in every respect, demonstrating amazing dedication, ingenuity, and generosity. She's so dedicated to South County Health that she had her hip replaced last week because she thought we needed the revenue. Ellie's recently come on the board of trustees and is already making a significant contribution and will, I'm sure, continue into the future. I also want to give thanks to our hardworking campaign cabinet, volunteers whose leadership and support was invaluable through this entire really long process. Please all stand up so that we can recognize your amazing work. I enthusiastically agreed to co-chair the campaign because I know firsthand how exhausting and how anxiety-filled traveling to get cancer care can be. South County has the highest incidence of cancer in Rhode Island. And having great integrated care so close will benefit everyone. Our families, our friends, and our neighbors, everyone. I also had a deep-seated belief that South County and our community had a very strong, mutually dependent, and beneficial relationship. As Lou said, a relationship that is essential to the community's continuing vitality. And that this important relationship would be broadly shared by you, by our community, ensuring our success. Again, you, in these numbers, have confirmed that confidence in our community. Hopefully, you'll have an opportunity to tour the Cancer Center after all this talking and see how great it's turned out. In ending, I'd like to thank our Patient Advisory Council, whose experience has guided this wonderful result. And again, thank you all.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Ellie. Dr. Colvin is the Medical Director of Oncology and Hematology here at South County Health, and most importantly, was an outstanding champion of this campaign. It is indeed my pleasure to introduce him to the few of you who might not have yet had the privilege of meeting him. Dr. Colvin.
Good evening, everyone. One thing I want to say is that this is awe-inspiring, that just to see everyone here and the community getting together and to make this a reality. I believe this cancer center started, the idea to start to build a true cancer center was almost a decade in the making. And I spoke to Ann Schmidt, who said about when she's been here for 5 years and they were already talking about it. So I think this is a huge investment by South County Health to invest in the community. And just thinking about over 1,000 individual donors is amazing. And it's my pleasure to work here. I've been an oncologist for 20 years, and this is my favorite place to be. And every day, it's a privilege to be here, and I'm very happy to be here. So, what the hospital has done, the hospital's been doing cancer care for over 30 years. So this is nothing new. What's new is the hospital recognized that we need an integrated center where we can deliver all the care in one place. So what the hospital has done is looked at cancer care, and not everything we do is cancer, but for people who are sick with blood disorders or cancer, looked at it from the patient perspective and said, all right, if you're a patient, what kind of place would you like to go? How would you like it to be? And I think the Patient Advisory Board had wonderful input to make this just the most wonderful, beautiful place that I've seen. And I worked in other large centers, and I think we've done a wonderful job. And I think this makes it real. This is now a real cancer center, and we've always been doing the care. So there are 100 types of cancer. We can do most of the work here. So as Luigi and Cole said, about 85% of cancer care is delivered in the community. That's in the country. So only about 15% is in big academic centers. And one thing that we do here, all of us, Dr. Smythe, myself, and other doctor, is we're the conduit. So patients who live close, if they need care in Boston, it's not just going to Boston, it's who you go to. We know where people should go. And I think that message should be out in the community, is that we can help. So there are things obviously we can't do. We do have surgical oncologists on staff, but it's very easy for me if we have a patient with lung cancer. I have the thoracic oncologist cell phone. I call them. They have the appointment right when the patient is there. Everything's done. And you don't have to live in fear. Everyone's going to get the care they need. So that's really important for us as a community to realize and to help support this hospital. We have 2 wonderful nurse navigators that help patients, and the hospital provides this. When I was at another hospital, the only reason that we had them is they were provided from a foundation, from a grant. So I think the hospital has had huge investment to try to help patients with the needs, financial needs, rides, any services they need at home, and to help with the very expensive oncology medications. The hospital started a breast health program many years ago. It is wonderful. So the services actually that we have here, and we have always had, so at least since I've been here 3.5 years, It's more than I've even had at other comprehensive cancer centers. But now, everything's going to be concentrated in one place. So, I think now that we have a true cancer center, I do think that we're going to really grow and really help the community. It's really about helping the community. And especially when you're not feeling well, especially when you may not have long to live, it makes a difference. I have people that still go to Sloan Kettering. They waste the whole day. If they only have 6 months, a year, maybe less, you're wasting a lot of time driving. And from Boston here, it's still an hour and a half, at least, at best. And it's not always necessary. And sometimes when we have people from Boston, they go to Boston, we'll do like blood work or small things here. So if we can help save one ride to Boston, that's what we do. We already do clinical research. That is one future goal that we have, is to really expand that. We have access to all clinical trials. We don't do many trials from here, but I think as moving forward, that is one plan that I think would really help also with the patients. And as well, the oncologists, we know what the clinical trials are, so if we know, all right, there's a treatment that's better somewhere else, we'll send. And it's not always Boston. Sometimes it's Seattle. Sometimes it's Florida. Sometimes it's a Mayo Clinic in Rochester. So we know a lot of times what's going on around the country, and we help patients so they don't have to keep searching. Because the internet is very difficult when you search, and you can get very nervous. You don't know where to go, who to turn. And we have started a palliative care program. It's inpatient. We're going to try to transition that and have them see patients out in the office with us, and that's very exciting as well. So I think everyone here is going to be very pleased with how the Cancer Center has come out and turned out. I looked at that, and I look at it being done, and I'm thinking, boy, we don't have enough space. We just built it, and it's not big enough. But I think it's a start, and I think you're going to be very pleased. And just now, where we have the patients across the street, they have to come see us first. They have to drive to the hospital to get the infusion. I think this is going to dramatically change the quality of all those patients under the treatment. And I want to thank all the patients and patients' family who came tonight. And it's really wonderful to see you all and friends. And thank you so much for coming.
And now to our keynote speaker, Laura Adams. Laura is the founder, president, and CEO of Rhode Island Quality Institute. That's RIQI, Rhode Island Quality Institute. One thing you quickly learn in healthcare is that you have to have acronyms. Laura is a leader in healthcare reform, known and respected far beyond our little roadie. But tonight she has generously agreed to share her own personal story with us. So I am so grateful and proud to introduce Laura Adams. Thank you.
Well, what an honor and a pleasure to be here tonight. You'll just see in a moment what an honor and a pleasure it is for me, but this is an unbelievable achievement. I toured it earlier today. I wanted to get a good feel for it. I wanted to spend plenty of time there absorbing and feeling exactly what this community just accomplished. I thought I would start this out in my planning of this talk tonight. I thought this is the next in the line of many, many accomplishments by this organization. In fact, I think I'll just review a few of them at the beginning of my talk. So I went to review them, and there's a list, and there's a list, and there's more about this one here. Pay attention to the one, if I can get it back. This one, Pathway to Excellence. South County Hospital is the first hospital in New England to achieve the prestigious Pathway to Excellence designation by the American Nurse Credentialing Center. It talks about being a place where nurses really want to work. It's a distinction that only South County has in all of New England. So as I started to kind of look through this, I thought, I screwed up, because I don't think I get to talk all night. And if I'm going to talk about the awards, we're going to be here for a very long period of time. So I just thought I would show you these. And the thing is that, did I mention that the hospital safety score, that's the base for me. How safe is the organization? That's an A on the hospital safety score. This organization is an achieving organization. I think there's a reason behind it. I think the way this organization's DNA, inside its very sense of itself, is what makes it so distinct and so amazing. So what I want to share with you tonight is, I think I want to answer the question, how does performance like this happen? And what does it now mean for you for cancer care in South County? So, thinking about, that's my son, Ben. I wanted to introduce you to Ben. And the fact that we're Patriots fans, and the fact that we are smiling because there are 3 things we do not know when that picture is taken. The first thing that we don't know is that our beloved Patriots are going to go on and play in the Super Bowl that year, only to lose for the 2nd time to the Giants. Now, a helmet catch should never be allowed. We can discuss that later. But so we lost to the Giants that year again, miserably. So we're smiling because that hasn't happened yet. The second thing that we don't know is the Deflategate, and so we're still smiling because we never heard of that. The third thing that we don't know in this picture is that there's a cancer growing in my right breast in the picture, and I didn't know it either when the picture was taken. I found it out 3 weeks later when I went in for a primary care visit. It was out of the blue. It was like I felt like I'd been tasered when the physicians, my primary care doctor, said, I'm feeling a lump, I'm a little bit worried about it, why don't you go get this checked out? And I did, and ladies, you know, you go in for your mammogram, and you are there with a cohort of ladies, and you kind of want to leave with them, because if you leave, they tell you everything is okay. And I noticed that the ladies that I came in with, all one by one, were leaving and being excused and going home, and I wasn't. And then the oncologist appeared and the radiologist appeared in the door, and I knew I was in trouble, and I was. I didn't get a definitive diagnosis that day. I was speaking at the Rhode Island Business Group on Health, and I stepped off the podium the next morning. They'd done a biopsy, and I got the news. And I suddenly felt this need for connection, this deep need for connection, because the diagnosis of cancer was a shocking event in my life. I will never forget that moment that I took the phone call and found out that I had it. And so I sat there thinking, well, what do I do now? Do I go back to work? Do I go home? What do I do? I didn't even know what to do. So I got in the car and decided I'd go back to the Rhode Island Quality Institute and gather my leadership team to let them know. And inside the car, I felt this howling wilderness of isolation. Just isolated. The thing I wanted most was somebody to care that this happened to me. So I went back to my staff, they were shocked, and I started on the road home to tell Ben. And I knew that I was on my way to shattering my son's illusions of his mother's immortality. I knew I was on my way to change my son's life forever with a few words, and one of them being cancer. So my ex-husband and his fiance, we got together in their living room and we told Ben, and Ben was devastated, and he said, what's going to happen? Are you going to die? Are you going to live? I said, Ben, I don't know right now, but I do know that I'll tell you everything, and you'll be on the care team with me. So I think that it was a bit of a gift for me in the role that I'm in, because I had to put my life in the hands of the delivery system. I'd been on the other side of the delivery system for a very long period of time, and I thought I knew. I thought I knew what patients wanted and needed, and then I became one. And it was really, really a different world. I woke up the next morning and realized I'd cried myself awake. Not asleep, I cried myself awake. I woke up in a pool of tears, realizing that my life had changed forever as well. So in thinking about the needs that a patient has at that moment, and I think about what South County offers that's different, modern medicine lives here. Miracle medicine lives here at South County. But when you're in that state, you want more than miracle medicine. You want all the powers of the universe that they can bring to you. And that's human connection. There's a power beyond medicine in human connection. I'm convinced of it. So when I look at what South County brings to the cancer experience for a patient, I think about the secret, this extraordinary connections. I was going to show that to you and sort of surprise you with it, and then I walked in and there it is. So extraordinary connections. So sort of blew that moment for me, but that's okay. We'll move on. So, but that notion of extraordinary connections coming out of a vision statement, I've never seen that anywhere. Never seen that anywhere. People talk about being the best, being the biggest, being the most. It's all about them-centered. That's all about provider-centered. Extraordinary connections is about you-centered, community-centered, and patient-centered. So when I think about this, I think about the fact that they've got some puzzle pieces here that other places don't have. They understand something called relationship-based care. And I think it's going to be a very big wave. I can feel it coming, but South County isn't jumping on a wave. South County helped create this wave. They've been doing relationship-based care for a very long period of time, and I watched it. It's embedded, it's hardwired into the infrastructure and the design of this cancer center. I want to point out a few things for you and implore you to take the tour tonight. Go look for these things that I'm going to talk to you about. Where I think this plays out for them, everybody knows and loves this. It's my favorite place in all of Rhode Island, right there. That picture, I've held that picture from the first time that I saw it in my mind. There's something that South County has and knows at a deep level that most organizations don't, and that is the power of connection. I'm thinking about, you do have modern medicine here, you do have the best, but a very wise nursing professor of mine once said that a patient doesn't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that that's what goes on here at South County, is we have a way of talking about how much people care. So here's that extraordinary vision for South County Health: to forge extraordinary connections with our community that support health at every stage of life. When I look at that and I realize that in terms of a caregiver's relationship with themselves, it's important that you know who you are deep down. You know what principles guide you in your life, and you live by those every day. You adhere to them tightly, authentically, every day. I've never felt more authenticity than I felt when I come to South County, for whatever I'm doing here. When I come to South County, there's this feeling of authenticity here. Patients can feel it, I know they can. So I know that caregivers here start with governing themselves, with understanding what they want to be in life, how they want to conduct themselves. And then when I think about the relationship with patients, it's all over this new cancer center. And here's how I think that it came about with it. When I started to think about how we were going to redesign health and how we were going to get out of the mess we're in, I worked for the very wonderful theorist by the name of W. Edwards Deming. And Dr. Deming said to me as his student, and he was a mentor of mine, he said, "Laura, you can't think your way out of your own problems in healthcare." I said, "Oh, Dr. Deming, I've been a nurse a long time. I know patients. I know how to do this." And he said, "No, you don't." He said, "A fish doesn't know it's in water." What? A fish? What are we talking about, a fish? A fish doesn't know it's in water. Did he even have a brain? I don't even know. Why do you say that? It was frustrating to me. And what he was trying to teach me, like, okay, grasshopper, listen, you guys are immersed in this day after day. You can't think your way out of the design. And it reminded me of a time when I decided that I would go right back home and test this idea. So I went and got Bob from engineering, and I said, "Bob, why don't you come up to my ICU waiting room, because I think I'm a fish and I don't know I'm in water. And I'd like to know if this is a family-friendly ICU waiting room. Just come up and give me that fresh perspective." Bob walks in and he says, "Why do you have that sign right there?" And the sign said, "Vandals will be prosecuted." And I never took it down. And that fish didn't know it was in water because I passed that sign every day. It made me understand, and made me reach out to Steve Jobs to understand creativity, to understand where new ideas really generate from. And he said that when you ask creative people how they did it, they're embarrassed because they say, "I don't know. Didn't you see it? The picture just emerged. I just connected the dots." What they meant by that, what Steve Jobs meant by that, is that that's because they're able to connect these experiences because they've had more experiences than other people. Said the problem with that is that most of us don't have these experiences. Most of us don't have these dots to connect. It's too rare a commodity. He said that people come up then with very linear ideas to solve very challenging problems. Where do you get the dots to connect? I know where you've gotten them. You've gotten them from listening to your patients, with a deep healing relationship that you have with your patients, your conversation. So what does this mean for cancer care in South County? You can only connect the dots that you collect. You have to collect dots. You know how they do it? They talk to you. They listen to you. They ask you questions about how you'd like it. They put up the Patient Family Advisory Council. Now that Patient Family Advisory Council, look closely at the chairs in the infusion area when you pass through there. Because what they did was that, I'm probably stealing Terry's thunder, and I'm sorry about that, Terry, but I got to tell him this, that those chairs were chosen because they had about 7 vendors vying to be the vendor of those chairs. Well, they had each vendor bring them in and had patients actually use them for about 2 weeks each, and the patients voted on which ones were the most comfortable. That's seeing things through the patient's eyes. I've never had infusion therapy, yet I chose chairs all the time. I think I know what the patient wants. How could I possibly know? You look at things like the undulating wall. When you first walk in, it makes me feel like the ocean waves. That came straight out of the Patient Family Advisory Council. So they were talking about these hardened corridors don't convey the same thing that a soft, warm, undulating wall like that creates. You walk into the center of it and you feel like you're in this beautiful open space, and particularly during the day when the light flows in there, and you feel like you're in this open space, but you're held in their hands somehow, because it's the warmth of the decor, it's the way that they've structured it. I look at things like you go down and you see that there's a nutrition support area there, and I think back to my own treatment, and I think back to how when I went back to my oncologist after my mastectomy, I lost a body part, but I didn't lose my life. And I was now really concerned about making sure my cancer didn't recur. And so I said, so do I eat this or do I eat that? I've heard this turmeric thing or turmeric, I don't know what that is. Should I drink wine, should I not? She said, oh gosh, honey, I don't know, it's all kind of confusing. Don't worry, you did a really good job. If you get cancer in the other breast, we'll take it off too. I was flabbergasted. For many of you, you know that we're about to embark on a thing called value-based payment models. We're going to be paid in the future on the health of our population, how well we keep them healthy. That was a golden moment of opportunity. I was never more motivated in my entire life to change my diet, to change my sleep, to change my habits around stress reduction, all of those things. And it was just squandered in a moment. I could see today from everything they were telling me about the nutrition therapy that won't be squandered for you in the new cancer center. These connections stretch out into the community for your life after your experience in the cancer center. I can see it happening. So when I think about what this means for the understanding of human experience, they get it from talking to you, and here's what that means to me, is that data gives us information. I'm all about data, but stories give us wisdom. And your stories that your caregivers have spent the time listening to have given South County great wisdom in the design of this center. It's really extraordinary. So coming into thinking a little bit about the care team now, this is important because how the care team relates to each other matters. I've been in places where the care team has been at each other's throats. Watch to see in this. The care team design is hardwired into this. Look closely when you get in there to see the physician office. I'm saying office singular because they didn't separate themselves into different physician offices. They're together in one. There was a reason for that, so that they could discuss patient care, so that they could quickly get ideas exchanged, so they could connect together in a care team way. When you look at the reception desk, look at how that reception desk is cut down in the center like this. So that says accessibility to patients. When I walked in and I saw that, I walked into care settings where they've got a counter up to here and they've got glass in front of your face. And you can stand in front of that glass, they'll look up and they'll see you and never acknowledge you. Not at South County Cancer Center. That thing is accessible, that bar is low on there. When I look at the room that they've got off to the side, they said this is where we're going to do our interdisciplinary, where we're all going to come together. The oncologist, the radiation oncologist is going to be there, the surgeon's going to be there, all in one team. And I thought back to my own experience. And I thought, wow, I had to go have an appointment with the radiation oncologist, an appointment with the breast surgeon, an appointment with the reconstructive surgeon, go talk to somebody else about chemo, 4 separate days out of my life to chase all that down. And then Terry said, really extraordinary, he said, oh, you know the best thing about this? He says, is that we can get together and we can make decisions and talk this through with the families and patients present. He said, I look sometimes and I would see in other places that it took us 9 weeks to come to a decision. We can do that now in 2 weeks for a treatment plan. We know what we're doing. And I thought, 9 weeks? No. 2 weeks? No. Those are 2 weeks of sleepless nights. Sleepless nights. So if you can carve down 9 weeks of sleepless nights down to just 2, that's extraordinary. He passed me by the laboratory and he said, we put this laboratory in here because many times we had the patients waiting 20 minutes for lab results. And I thought, Where have you ever heard somebody care about the patient waiting 20 minutes? And no offense to our colleagues anywhere else, but I've just never heard somebody say, we deliberately put this here because we respect the time of the patient and the family so much. I think that what this care team here understands, because they don't infight, they collaborate, they really live that value. I think what they've said is they understand deeply that the enemy is disease and it's error and it's waste. It's definitely not each other. So the last part of this is community. And look at this room. And look at what this entire campaign did with this community. When I also talked to them about, they said, oh, this is the spot where we're going to have patients work with the American Cancer Society so that they can tap into the resources and the supports that are out there in the community. We're going to give them Julie Silver's book. Julie Silver's book, How I Got Through It. It's really an extraordinary book about survival of cancer. And I think about how I got access to Julie Silver's book, because I marched out of my oncologist's office after she told me she'd take off the other breast. And I said, I just have to have some support. So I knew Julie, I could pick up the phone and call her. Most people can't. But they're going to get access to all of Julie's thinking through you, because you're connecting with the community. You're seeing beyond the visit. So also I would say that just such an amazing group of people there that put all of this together, that gave of their heart and soul. One other example, and I would be remiss if I didn't touch on this, we talk about information being needed, all the data in one place, all the data coordinated coming from wherever in the state you are, being able to have that accessible. I remember going between my different care sites and they kept telling me to carry my own records. I almost felt like the universe had given me this diagnosis, so I would deeply understand the value of keeping my nose to the grindstone in Rhode Island and building out current care, so that a patient doesn't have to become the courier service for the delivery system, so that that system gathers up all of that information and supports them and brings them to the Lou John Cole and Gary Croto are such leaders in this. So we've built current care. They're actively involved in this. We're bringing that data in. We're integrating it right into the workflow. It's one of the most exciting things, and here's why it matters. This woman is Casey Quinlan. She's a cancer survivor, breast cancer. She's an advocate and a writer. She is funny, irreverent, and in your face about her experience. And you'll notice she's got what looks like an interesting piece of jewelry on her neck. It's not jewelry. What Casey has on her neck is a thing called a QC code. And that's because she got tired of not having her medical records where it needed to be. So she loaded all her medical records up and put them in one spot and then had a QC code tattooed on her chest so people could find her medical records. Casey doesn't live in Rhode Island, and you don't have to get tattooed. So I think that's a really, really good thing. So my last slide, the last statement that I'll make about this extraordinary night, I wanted to mention that 5 years ago, this month, was when the cancer was removed from my body. So I'm 5 years out, and I thought about how would I celebrate this? How would I just honor that sort of thing? And then I got the call from South County to come and to be with you tonight. And I thought, gee, that's just unbelievable. I have a list called Silver Linings. Ben started it with me because he came to me and said he was guilty because my mother was flying out from Colorado. His favorite cousin was flying out, my niece. And he said, I'm so guilty because they're coming out and it's because you have cancer. I said, Ben, let's start a Silver Linings list, all the wonderful things that would happen because of this diagnosis. I wanted to live well, not in spite of my cancer, but because of it. So I wanted to search for every positive aspect, every gift, every nugget I could be given by what was a horrifically frightening diagnosis. So, there were some fun things on the Silver Linings list, like, kids play soccer in the fall down here, way into the fall, it's really cold outside. So, your parents are sitting out there and the umbrellas are blowing inside out and, you're freezing, they're having fun, they're running around, they're not cold. And so I'd go to that fall to the soccer games and say, Laura, are you going to come out here and sit with us on the sidelines? Oh yeah, no, Sue, breast cancer. Yeah, I'm going to have to stay in the warm car. Oh, I would love some hot chocolate. You are the best, thank you. I thought, well, I'm putting that on the Silver Linings list. And then things like, they do give you implants and they match, so you could get like really big ones if you wanted to. So I kind of went through the, do I want double D's or not? It didn't look that good. I looked a little like Dolly Parton with a big hair, so I decided no. And then I got, racked up a ton of airline miles by paying my bills with credit cards, my medical bills. I beat Bill Gates at something. My son was supposed to write about his hero. He wrote about me instead of Bill Gates, since I will never beat him at anything else, but especially electronic, but I beat him at that. And then ladies, you'll like this, there was a much lower threshold for looking good. I walked out of my house the first time I came out of my house, and I hadn't been out in the sun for however long, and the first people I see of my neighbors say, "Oh, honey, you look great!" And I think, wow, I don't have any makeup on, and I think I've been in these sweats for 3 days. And what I didn't realize is all I needed to be was upright. And they were just so happy that to see me, coming out the other side of it. And then there were some serious things on that silver linings list, like, I'm going to know what really matters, and now I do. And what we're doing here and creating in Rhode Island and what you're creating in South County really matters. Look for all those things that I've mentioned when you tour the Cancer Center, you'll see them. I believe that to forge extraordinary connections with our community, to support health. You've done that. You've hardwired it into the design. And I have a panoramic view of healthcare in Rhode Island because of where I sit with RIQI. Believe me, you're a shining star. You're a shining star here because you keep the patient the North Star. Thank you.